So welcome everyone again. Now, a pleasure to hand over to Tjarda de Haan, web archaeologist and guest e-curator at the Amsterdam Museum, and also winner of the Digital Preservation Award just at the end of 2016. So Tjarda, you've generously offered to take us through a little of your project, a little of your work, so I'm very happy to hand over to you now.
Well, thanks, William, so much for inviting us to give the webinar. And guys, all very welcome in this first debut. It's a sneak preview of the Do-It-Yourself Handbook for Web Archaeology. So after these slides, you can just dig in any digital past you would like. At least it's not one. It's not complete. Absolutely, it's far from complete, but we are working on it, and we will finish it soon this year. So please, let's dive into the past, and let's go. And first, I'm going to show you, what I'm thinking to do with a do-it-yourself handbook for web archaeology. On the right, you see some images of handbooks, because the digital city had a really big tradition in writing handbooks. It was a pioneer and wanted to help other projects as well, either to start a city or know how to deal with the internet, which was something completely new at that time. So, and actually, I'm going to show you all the chapters which I have already started in bullet points, because it's a PowerPoint presentation. So first, I'm going to give you a short introduction. Then we're going to dive into the digital preservation, and then we are getting started, a step-by-step manual. And you will see it start, excavate, reconstruct, complete the collections and conclusions, and we will then give lots and lots of literature. So let's dive into the past. And then I will first take you to what is the digital city, because it's a way back, it's in 1994. And this city could only be entered by dialing a telephone number. And probably you remember the sounds made by this, like, I always love to do that. And the digital city was very unique. It was the public domain virtual city, the first one in the world. There were online communities like The Well, which started in 85. But as a city, it was never done before. And in the Netherlands, it was the first online community. And it gave free access to internet. And that was exceptional. Only if you worked with the militaries or at universities, you could enter the internet, or if you were a good hacker, which we will mention later, then you could enter internet. But for the broader audience in the Netherlands, the digital city was the first to give access. And it was grounded by a unique group. Marleen Sticker at the Bali, that's a political cultural center, started it to research how electronic debates could benefit for the Bali, and she met a lot of hackers, and then with the hackers she pleaded for money, for funding to start a digital city. And although the municipality thought, should we give money to hackers, they decided to give a funding for the digital city, like an experiment just for 10 weeks, and then you do, if you want to continue, go on. But we do it for 10 weeks because there were elections going on in March, and they wanted to look what the internet could be offer for possibilities. And the digital city proved to be very well for the city of Amsterdam, I heard later. It became, it got really a cyber reputation that they did so well. And actually it was the digital city who did the work, but of course the money came from the municipality. Even CNN came to film in Amsterdam, and that's online at our museum site. And Manuel Castells was one of the first to write about the digital city, because it was a unique form, like a grassroots organization, a local organization with a lot of civic participation. And inhabitants, of course, it's not the same as Facebook, but at that time it was really a lot of people. In 2000, they ended up with 140,000 users. And users were called inhabitants in the city because as a user, as an inhabitant, you could have a mail address, but also a house, and that was a website. And at the bottom of the slide, you see a postcard, and that says, "Greetings from the digital city." That's actually a very analog source, and that's paperwork. Okay, we move on, because the digital city is a unique story, and it's unique for the world, but also to Amsterdam. And the Amsterdam Museum thought, that's a good story, we want to tell it. But to show it, you need to do something new. And if you look at the bottom, the left painting is Antonisson. That is a bird eye on Amsterdam. That was kind of a unique painting because nobody painted cities from top down, and he did. And I wanted to compare these two pictures because the one is what we know, paintings, oil paintings. But on the right, we have the first interface of the digital city. And that's unique. And both are very important objects, and both tell something about Amsterdam, and they tell the story of Amsterdam. So in order to get that digital city interface in the museum, we have to do a lot of work. And those are new areas. Instead of a physical object, you have to acquire and preserve a digital object. And how to do that? So we started at web archaeology. And why do we start it? The importance of the heritage for Amsterdam and the Amsterdam Museum. It's for us as well first time that we bring the digital objects to tell the story of Amsterdam. And the digital city and the Amsterdam Museum actually know each other quite long. In one of the pictures you see a screen, and that's put on a public terminal. One of this public terminal was actually in the Amsterdam Museum. It's gone. We don't have any idea yet where did it go, but thanks to the Waag, they found one and they offered us to put it in our collection. And if you visit the Amsterdam Museum, which you will do, of course, then you will see it. So the digital city and Amsterdam Museum know each other quite long, but now we want to see it as the digital object which we want to recreate, because the digital city was a website from 94 to 2001. It was taken offline. So we have first to find it. I will just go on, and of course the last remark didn't escape you. The digital city will definitely come alive again, and we go for that. So we started the project, and we found partners, because without partners you can't do any web archaeology. University of Amsterdam, Waag Society, and Beeld and Sound and Vision, and of course the NCDD. Marcel might tell later on more about that. But we started a project. We wanted to reconstruct, and if we got it reconstructed, then we have to preserve it for future generations. And doing it, we discovered there are processes, techniques, and methods to look at, but also maybe we didn't find all the tools, so we're actually making some tools just to get the city, the raw data of the city, back into a city. Then important, we want to ask attention for the danger of digital amnesia. We are losing our history, and either it's on the attic of people's houses or it's on the hard drives. People are cleaning up their houses and throwing away data which are no longer online, and then we're going to lose some parts of our history which shouldn't be lost. So doing this project, we want to disseminate our knowledge and share it with you in the Do-It-Yourself handbook, but also in our blogs and in a few interesting meetings this year in Amsterdam, and they are called the Heritage Hacking Labs. So all Dutch guys, please be invited, and I will keep actualities on the website. And then if we are able to reconstruct and preserve the digital city, we want to make it future-proof. So the digital city and the data can be visible, usable, and of course, we'll preserve it. Then we move on to digital preservation. And here I'm going to show you my favorite cartoon, and you know it all, XKCD, you know him. And he is going down into his files he probably have buried in his computer, and he goes down, he sees his Facebook pics, his downloads, and then in the big cave he ends up, and then you can see it. Oh my God, I wrote poetry. Okay, but now back to the digital city. UNESCO warned in 2003, if we don't do anything, we will lose our digital heritage. And I think you probably remember FinServ telling this lots of times last year. We face a forgotten generation, or even a forgotten century. And even Bruce de Kale knew an average life of a website is only 100 days. So it will get lost. And moving on, and the challenges of born digital heritage. I think you probably know this all. The material, it's complex. Let's stay with that. It's complex, and you know the rest. It's also not very clear where it starts and where it ends, and especially with the digital city, which is an internally complex object, and ethical issues regarding privacy, copyright, and licensing are incredibly important. And especially privacy is so important to us as well. It is, but also because in the digital city it was taken care of very well, or no, I must rephrase that. It was discussed very broadly, and there were a lot of people who defended the privacy. So we are taking care of that. People who are diving into the data we found all have to sign a contract. And if not, I'll break their legs if they don't act to it. Then the methods. You have like what we know now, like web harvesting and web archaeology. Web harvesting is live data. It's like in the Brewster Kahle Internet Archive. It's like making snapshots. It's very valuable, but not the one we want. We want to reconstruct the object, and then we will web archive it. Then we want to dynamically web archive it. Probably we'll come back to that later. And in the meanwhile, Rhizome has made some beautiful web recorder, which you can record social media, for example. That's a start of dynamic web archiving. That's very interesting. Then the division of task. What we really badly need, and I keep telling this during my presentations, we need more web archaeological tools. There is a great tool, a bit curator. We are trying to research that, but we need more, and especially with the raw data of the digital city we are working with. We're lucky to have a lot of students, clever students, computer science students from the University of Amsterdam, who are developing tools now to deal with the data we've got. Then we need a repository for tools, because we found data on exotic file types, but we couldn't read it because, and you will see that later, we had to find a tape reader first. Then we need a software library. One library with clear licenses we can use, and going back to the past. So different versions we need. And then we need a sustainable EDIPO and infrastructure. Well, the National Coalition of Digitale Duurzaamheid, digital sustainability, the NCDD then, is working on this. And it's very, very important that we build this digital infrastructure where we can preserve the data sustainable. And we are working with the Institute of Sound and Vision in this project, and that's really important they see as well the urgency of saving and keeping the data for future generations. So you need preservation watches. You need to know when something changes, it will not delete or stop your archive. And then, of course, it's not written in stone yet. There are not a lot of standards yet in this project, so we just do and make many errors. But we succeed as well in certain things. Here you see the three interfaces, the city landscapes of the digital city. The first one in '94, you will immediately recognize the bulletin board system technology behind it. Then you see the first steps in '94, the web one, with the graphical user interface possibilities. Mosaic just entered the world, and that was the first step. The second, you could make links, but that was not what the digital city had in mind. They wanted to make a city, so they created a square interface, and this one we call the Digital City 3.0. And with this one, we are getting really somewhere with the students. They are diving into the data and reconstructing it. I'll come back to that later. So we knew what we wanted, and it was no longer online, then in the Internet Archive, but we wanted more. We wanted, and you can see with the technology, the digital city is a complex information system, and it totally is. And not only because it had so many applications divided on different servers, because when you go back in history, they didn't have a server with the amount of storage possibilities as now. They were limited at those times. Just if one server was full, you needed another one. So it's like a spaghetti code with server. You had a lot of servers piled on each other, and as well for the data, it was the same. We found some spaghetti data, we call it, but with respect. I mean, they did at that moment what they could do with the possibilities of then. And sometimes the nowadays students are laughing, why did they do it that way? Yeah, well, at that moment, it probably was the best solution. But if you look at it now, it is kind of different. So it is a treasury with born digital heritage, not only because of the technology and see how it is changed through time, but as well the discussions. There were chat rooms, there were fora, there were news written, and it tells such a great story about the 20th century life in Amsterdam, and as well global, because the digital city was not meant to be for Amsterdam alone. So now, when a website is taken offline and you have nothing, what do? You start. And there are several steps we are working on, and you can see the red area is not alerting area, it is the area where we are now at the moment. So what do when you do web archaeology? You start, you excavate, you reconstruct, you complete your collections, and then you go on a very, very long holiday. But first, you start. You make a plan. You need a plan. And especially as well with the last words of the sentence, you need to search partners. At least that was for us. A museum doesn't have the knowledge for digital curation or even digital excavating. We needed partners, and we needed them soon. And we found Marleen Sticker at the Waag. Marleen Sticker was the virtual mayor of the digital city. She founded it with a lot of good people. And we got, let's move. We have a plan. You need a strategy, and then document. You need to document every step of your way, because it will help others, but also it will make sense for yourself because this project, we call it a slow data project. The website, the digital city, was online for 7 years. And this is the 7th year that we now are excavating and reconstructing the digital city. So we're like taking the same time at this moment. So you need to document from the very first start, because it was 7 years later, and I hope you will do a lot better, a lot quicker than us. So document and blog, because make it public. make it visible. Write about every step you do and share it with the public, and even take them with you and make them write parts as well. Then launch an open history lab, well, where you blog, and a virtual museum, and that you can find on the website of the museum. I will give you the URL later on. You can find what we have been excavating, and we as well explain everything we found. We tell where did we get it, who offered it us, who donated it, or where did he find it, and what is it supposed to be, and then we tell what it is, or where are the conflicts. Okay, so you excavate, you collect stories, memories, and data, and then you crowdsource and engage the community. We had a grave diggers party, and I will tell you about it later. And I say parties, and then I mean plural. Organize lots of parties, because it seems to be that beer is a very good incentive to get the people around, and they start working, and then do another party and another party. Good. And you have to go, for the crowdsourcing, you go to your audience. We missed some tape reader and some software for servers, so we posted it on social media, and we got back huge amount of reactions, and that helped us a lot. So go to your audience. Don't wait till they come to your virtual museum. No, you have to go to them. Then you start reconstructing. We found so much data. I will come back later on. You must make the data accessible, because we got a lot of raw data, and that are just like bit streams streaming in files, and you have no idea what it is. So you need to analyze, and here I'm an historian. I needed experts to help me. Then you're going to deploy or either develop new tools to dig up that raw data and make it visible. And then you reconstruct, and I always tried to give an incentive, either make it historical true, so with the old service, old operation system, everything like authentically how it was, but then we knew we had to be realistic, or make a quick and dirty version, and we'll come back to that later. And then complete the collections, because you have to put it in an archive. You can't host it on the museum server. You need to host the digital city on a place where it is safe and where it can be preserved for future generations. So again, if some service pack is out, experts should know what to do with it. And I say dynamic archiving, because what we want is not the snapshots, but an actual working digital city for people to be accessed. So you need dynamic web archiving, and that takes a whole new, that's a new sport. And then you have to open it to the audience and then present it in a museum, and then the holiday. So what you do, you excavate, you collect your stories, memories, and data. And since a few months, delver.nl is online, and we found some great articles. And we needed all insights, all anecdotes, and all names of the people of the digital city. I was a little lucky. I worked at the digital city, so I knew a lot of people, but I did not know all. And by reading the newspapers, and especially as well diving into the Wayback Machine, was incredible, fruitful for us. And of course, your Dutch is really very good, so you can read de Digitale Stad bestaat bijna 2 jaar. So at the second anniversary of the digital city decided to give themselves a present in the form of a frieze. So a moment from that time with all the software, even with the hardware they wrote in the article, and all the documentation. So it was really well thought. They wanted to safeguard the digital city. And they as well explicitly said, we save it for the future archaeologists. And that is us. We are the future archaeologists. Helaas for us, they didn't keep the hardware, they didn't keep the documentation, they didn't keep all the software really neat and tidy, but I knew reading this, I had to get the freeze. So at the beginning of the project, I started asking everybody, do you know where the freeze is? Who's got the freeze? So that helps. As well, you excavate, you want memories of people. So we started a form on the website, the who is, and who is you? Please fill out the form. And I asked many questions. You can find it on the website, the URL is down. And people started giving their reactions, what they wanted to keep and what they were looking for again if we were able to dig up the city. And one said, all bytes that I'm lost. Well, that's maybe a little too much. But, you know, the appearances of the homepage we found, excerpts from the metro, the digital underground we got, that is a special application which was very popular. And one says the old site as a tribute. We are working on that. And as well, the Bruine Kroeg, that was a very popular virtual bar. We're still looking for that. And actually, students this month are diving to find the Bruine Kroeg. And as well, one says, actually the atmosphere, but that will be difficult. Thank you, it is difficult. But hopefully we shall succeed. We did a grave diggers party, as I told you. We built up a working space with an archaeological site with a lot of tools, workstations, and you can see at the photos, the beer is there, but also all system administrators of the digital city are helping us to get the data of the hard drives and the floppies people brought in so we could store it. And actually we had a museum space, the cabinet of curiosities, because they look really like curiosities, what we dig up. And of course, you can see it in a picture with the color papers. We wrote down everything. From whom are we getting this? Please, telephone number, so we can call later if we missed something. Where did they get it from? What's should it supposed to be? And after the party, we got a lot of data. And we knew, of course, what we were looking for because we talked with the people. We were looking for the software, the hardware, the special projects, and especially the houses, because people could have houses and they designed their houses. They wrote their own ideas in the houses. So we were looking for it. And I keep repeating, anybody who knows where is the tape robot? We are still looking for it. So at this grave diggers party, great things start pouring in. And here you see most of the analog things we found, many manuals and great, as we see it now, probably retro design. There was a complete new design by Mieke Gerritsen and Marjolein Ruig because we entered a new world which was not designed yet. So the digital city really has a pronounced design. And then we were really, really happy. We found the freeze. Yay! It took a year. And you can see, like, it's not a cartoon, but the under photos, you can see how we got to the tape reader. We had one, nobody knew where it was, but it was used as a footstool, but the Royal Library in Den Haag said, you can have it. And then we put the tape in. We had no practice tapes. We couldn't find them. And it was stuck, but we recovered. And the man on the right, that is Henk Peek, he is our hero. He got 11 gigabytes of data of these 3 DLT tapes. And you can see the change of the screen when Henk was working with it. And here you see these really strange puppets, the colored puppets. Those are called avatars. And every member of the digital city got an avatar. There were no digital cameras. Is that Olaf Jansen van de KB? No, the first one is René Voorburg. And the second one, I'm sorry, I've got the name, we'll know it next time. And that is, I think that is Kees. Peter Boele. Sorry, I think I was talking Dutch. So the avatars were the unique identifier for people. So it could show if somebody was alive and you could recognize somebody. So moving on, because I'm seeing the time is ticking. So here in the plan, you start, you excavate, and then you start to reconstruct. We are so happy to be able to show you these photos because that means a lot of people are working on it. You know, the digital city was built by many hands, but it is excavated by even more hands, I think. And you will see in the photos, you see the students and Paul Vogel and Mich van Ede. Those are really important people who helped us to start up with the data. Paul Vogel is involved from the very first beginning. As well, he is an old system, well, he's not old, but he's a former employee of the Digital City, a system administrator, and he is very well, he is doing great, that's it, point. So, working software. In 2015, we were happy to start with the University of Amsterdam, and they dug up the avatar generator. So the script behind making all those avatars, and we have it working, and hopefully soon we can put it online or in the museum so people can still make their own digital city avatars. Then last year we had this great meeting where the students excavate, hack, and hacking in the Netherlands has two meanings. It also means to squat houses, which in the digital city has a great meaning because at one moment the hosting space was full and there could not be built more houses. The digital city was full, and then they invented a law, the hacking law, so people could hack other houses. That was as well a very successful law. It worked, but still hosting space, there was never enough. Anyways, students excavate, hack, and present. They helped us research privacy and how to deal with data and privacy, because you have the website and where people publicly posted in forums and wrote their websites, which was visible for everybody. But also there were mailboxes, and there were things which happened behind a login. For some parts of the digital city, you had to log in. So you have privacy sensitive data and not, and we have to take care of that because the people, it's not like Pompeii, they died 2,000 years ago. Actually, you will meet the people in the streets of Amsterdam. They are still alive, like me, like Paul, even like me. So there are mailboxes which people get when they enter the digital city. So we keep very well aware of this, and students cannot not put anything online. They signed the contract. So, but then to help us to understand the law according to privacy and our wishes, they helped us greatly. Then we got it great. One of the photos down, you see two of the same websites next to each other. One is an emulation, and one is as far as they got. Interesting question in whatever. I can't read completely. Sorry, Marco. I will go on and then come back to you. So we have an emulated and a replica, and you can you've read it: old code, new machines, or complete makeover. The replica, we are going to try to get out of the privacy data, and hopefully we will be able to show that one. And we will explain more about the technology probably after the coming February. The students are diving into it again. So we only showed it at the museum, but we will hopefully show it again because they're digging in it today and this month. Then our future research, what we're going to do the next month, is from raw data to an e-depot. How do you do it? How do you preserve the data? And how you keep it dynamic? Because that is the big question. So we use the Open Archival Information System, and I think probably you know it. And then how to present it in a museum in the context. What do you show? Do you show the code, pictures, films? We'll come back to that. And then we are researching three preservation scenarios, because there are different entities. You have different objects. You have your backup. Always make a backup. And it's also like the freeze the digital city made in '96. you're going to put it there for future generations. They're probably much smarter than us. So they have everything we found that will be in the backup. But then we will want to dynamic store our reconstructed digital city. We have to find out how we're going to do it, and we are working with the Institute of Sound and Vision, and we're working on that now, and our outcomes will come later. And next to the backup and the dynamic storage, you also want a narrative. Well, okay, you can read it, in a museum. So you want to show it in a place where people can visit it and watch it. And on both three, you will, where do you store it and who will keep it? Well, and that's the open archival information that will help you with a lot of questions. And then, of course, I must say thank you, because we got it, we got a prize. And especially the reasons why you gave the prize for us was really, really endearing and very great to hear, because the project is all about people. That is so true. Thank you so much for giving us the award. Very happy, and it motivates us to go even further and hopefully show you the digital city. And I keep asking everybody, share your memories, and do you have excavations? Tell me, and come to the Heritage Hacking Labs. So conclusions in the do-it-yourself handbook are not finished yet, but we'll get to that, and hopefully I'll notify you. So this was my presentation. Let's go back to the beginning. I love that picture. Or let's start here, because this is about it. So, anybody questions or how we're going to do this?
Well, thank you very much, Tjarda, first of all, for a really super and really engaging presentation as well. It was a really great project. So, I mean, I've said my piece on this already. I hope others share that view. I've got a bunch of questions as usual, but it's my job as kind of host not to pester you and let everyone else talk. So I'll hand over. Who'd like to go first, or should I dive in? Okay, I'll take silence as consent then. So I've got two or three things to get you going. So first up, can I? It's a really silly question, and maybe you've answered it, but like there are evidently bits that you've had to go and like physically go and find backups and find servers, find tapes, and so forth. What's the most unlikely location, or the most unlikely of that sort of process of discovery that you've had?
Well, at least two locations. One was the trash containers. When the digital city sold parts of the city, there has been a management buyout, and the digital city was divided in commercial parts as well. And at one moment, because the city, as I describe it here, was the public domain city to be entered by everybody. And when part of it was of the city was commercially when they were sold, the people thought, why do we need these old servers? We don't need them. They're really old. So they just throw them in containers. And then when the system administrators found out, they start calling each other, guys, watch out, they're throwing the servers away. And then some of the administrators went to the trash container and took out the server. And years later, they donated to us. And thanks for that, we found data. And the other one was the 3 DLT tapes we got from Joost Flint to research. He had them in a cupboard, how you call it, a la, how you call those things? I think in a drawer. And those were metallic drawers. So that can't be good for magnetic tape. So 2 places where you should not put your data.
So don't put it in the garbage. Don't put it in the garbage containers. Don't put it in the metal drawers. So listen, I put my camera back on because I wanted just to show you that briefly. I don't know if you've seen books like this. I'm sure we all have. This is my Bible to the internet. As you can see, the title, the whole internet, and there's a little badge on it. It's just over here somewhere. You see, that says now introduces the World Wide Web. This is 1994, and it's full of wonderful tips. I mean, it's full of nonsense, really, now on how you would create a website and how you post it.
Wait a minute, William.
Sure.
No. I have to, as an historian, I have to tell you that's not nonsense. That's just another way of looking at it in 1994.
The thing is, this was the best you could possibly do. This is the best that you could possibly have hoped to. And what I'm getting to is that, so with the know-how that this kind of work, and there's others, but the know-how that this kind of work implies is incredibly useful, I'm guessing, for the sort of analysis and archaeology that you're doing, because that follows. But there must come a point when they stopped selling books like this, because it would all have been online. And I wonder whether actually, in a strange way, the hardest part of the archaeology isn't the early stuff, where they were still selling books like that, but the sort of 5 years after they stopped selling books like that. I just kind of throw that out as a reflection. Is that true, or what's your experience? What's the hardest period to understand what they were doing?
If you are at a university, and I'm happy to be able to work with the students a whole month with Gerard Albert. Tell us why this bad design? Why is this? You can't find good information. It's bad design, and then we tell them no. Actually, for that time, there was a lot of information. You knew how you had to know how to find it up, and it was not bad designed. It was just designed with the possibilities of that moment. And books are still sold, I think.
Yeah. Undoubtedly they are. Undoubtedly. Anyway, I'm having a trip down memory lane. Who'd like to go next?
That's great. The collaboration with the Internet Archive.
Yeah.
That was very interesting, because Bruce Kale, whom I met for the first time years ago, when I started with this project, he was very interested, and he has been a part in motivating students as well. I could interview him last year at a conference in Amsterdam, and well, the students then ask me, who is that man? But then I tell, well, that's the man of the Internet Archive. So Bruce Kale is very involved. Even he was in the Amsterdam Museum to see what we have in the museum, and that's the public terminal with a very bad screen with video footage, which is great, but of course we want a digital city there. So Brewster also gave access to newsgroups, which he took over from Google, which they took over from Deja News and way before. So he gave us access to the newsgroups. So any collaboration we need, we can mail him, and they will help. And then I see the question, do they also see a role for themselves in disseminating? Well, absolutely. And Brewster tells me every time he sees me, please, Tjarda, just upload the digital city and we'll keep it for you, as well in Alexandria. Well, you know, Jenny, dig up your own city, and you probably have so much within that new layer of digital history what not have been excavated. But thanks for the compliments, and hopefully you will come here one moment, so I can show you what we've got.
Just if I can follow up on a question from Michael Popham, which was in the chat box. Michael's asking what's publicly available. Let me just find the exact question. Is whatever was online publicly also to be reused publicly again? So is it available to the public again?
That's the golden question. That's absolutely not a golden diamond question. There are like ethical questions, like privacy, and as well we have copyright. Who owns everything of the digital city? Who owns, you know, the newspapers we got? We were donated. We can show. But the code, from who officially is the code? We are talking with people to find it out and to look upon it, because it's not only code of the digital city itself, but they also use third-party codes sometimes. So you need really good research on that, and we are doing that at this moment. So we really would love to show the digital city. And you know, without the privacy sensitive data, so people can experience again how it was to walk around in the digital city from web page to web page. That was from Marco.
Sorry, yeah, I misread. And another question, if I may, from Caroline that came to me instead of the group, I'll repeat anyway, was to ask, you know, are there any twin projects? Do you know of anyone else doing this in quite the same way? I mean, Amsterdam was a distinct, and you know, the digital city in Amsterdam was a phenomenon of that period. Were there other digital cities in the same way?
Well, in England, in London, you have Jim Boulton, who the first time, I think in 2010, he excavated first websites and showed it on the old Macs. So I think he was unique and first, and we met him to discuss things. He's a great guy, and he curated at the Barbican, the Digital Revolution, and there he showed the masterpiece of the first CERN website, and brilliantly on the first server and browser, and because CERN had to invent all to show the world the first website. So he got that together with I think people of the CERN. So that was the first one. And luckily for him, the CERN website was not as complex as the digital city with thousands of applications, but that is a great example to us. And there are similar projects, but then more in harvesting and visualizing, but not reconstructing. So, and that's, I think, we need the world to join in.